We call it,
Recording.
Thank you.
or we need a roll call.
Dick Poofall,
Here.
Mike Berlin,
Here.
Gary Mertig,
Here.
Bill Metzinger,
Here.
Marty Vitek,
Here. President Collins. Next, we need a motion to approve the agenda, the amended agenda. Bill?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended
Motion by
agenda.
Bill. Seconded by Mike. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. Public comments. Want to speak during the public comments? Barry? No? Okay, I wouldn't either. Okay, hearing none, nobody on phone or internet?
There's a bunch of people, but it looks mostly just like staff.
Okay, we'll go to discussion items, approval of executive meeting minutes from August 19th. Need a motion.
So move.
Motion by Marty,
I'll second it.
seconded by Bill. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. ARPA uses and approvals. Geo scanner.
In your packet, you'll see that I wrote a $150,000 grant, and I think this is not the first time I've discussed this with you. We were awarded $150,000 from the Department of Justice. We're looking, we put out RFPs with Bayfield County. And we have decided jointly to buy the Tech 84, and in your packet, you'll see the Tech 84 and a little bit of information about it. We did go over to Douglas County to see Douglas County's scanner. And we're just debating now, I'm trying to hear back from Kim Lavasser and Mick and Brian over at the Sheriff's Office, what we want for the warranty. I'm basically recommending we buy the piece of equipment with, it comes with a 2-year warranty with 3 additional years. If we do that, we are going to need $160,500 for this, and that will set you up for a 5-year period with service contracts and the warranty. And then there's a bunch of other things on there, remote viewing, remote access, there's additional storage, some of those things I just don't think we're gonna buy. So what I'm asking you today is to approve $10,500 of ARPA funding to basically fill in the remaining balance between the $150,000 Department of Justice grant and the $160,500 purchase price, which is what I'm recommending.
Question.
Yes,
Does Bayfield County have a jail,
yes, they have a rather new jail.
but is it comparable to ours, or is it a lot smaller?
I think it's about similar size, but they don't have nearly the jail population. We're usually running somewhere around 40 to 45 inmates, anywhere from 20 to 35 monitors. In addition, we're boarding anywhere from, 4 to 8 people at a time. Bayfield County basically has usually in the 20s in their jail and monitoring only 3 or 4. So we have a lot higher incidence of incarceration in this county. The Public Property and Law Enforcement Committee will be gathering information on that. Our jail has capacity in normal periods of, I think, 65 individuals. During COVID, obviously, we have a limited capacity, and I don't think they hardly ever get to 65 because you're always having issues with people who are incompatible with each other. And so sometimes we have to ship people off either because they're incompatible dealing with each other, or they're co-defendants within a case and they can't sit there and talk in court cases. Say what?
No, somebody just joined.
Oh, okay. So what this device will do is this is a body scanner that people can go through when they're coming into jail. And it will basically fully vet them for, let's say, large contraband. You might remember in the, I don't know, it was 2019 or early 2020, we actually had 3 overdoses. Somebody had brought drugs into the jail, and we were not able to ascertain them, and we had to take 3 people to the hospital. So this device will not detect 1 or 2 tablets. If somebody's trying to smuggle that in, there's just too much of a body mass to investigate, but this will stop larger quantities and certainly, lethal items, shanks and other types of things that people will be trying to smuggle in, cell phones, all the different things that happen with that. There's a certain level of training, just like your radiologist, when they look at the scans of you, you can't have Clark Shorter doing that. You have to have experience to do that. And so the companies come in, they give us training and, teach us what to look for. In addition, part of the reason that we're recommending we get the Tech 84 along with Bayfield County is because then we have the same piece of equipment between the 2 counties, and occasionally staff go back and forth and people will be trained on it regardless of which county they work in. So, and then in addition, spare parts and service calls will be more affordable because you're servicing 2 devices on a yearly basis versus just 1.
Here's my question. Is Ashland County buying 1 scanner and Bayfield buying 1 scanner?
That's
Or-
correct.
Okay, and who's paying for both of them? Are they paying for theirs?
They're paying for theirs, we're paying for ours.
So
So what we did was in the RFP,
it's a joint grant.
we put an RFP out saying, give us a price for just 1, or give us a price of what it would cost if we bought 2. And so because we got a little bit better deal on the purchase, we're getting a little bit better deal on the servicing because of that, because Bayfield could have picked one or the other. We had 3 companies and 4 proposals, and we both landed on the Tech 84. And so,
So the 150,000 grant will purchase both machines or just ours?
no, the machines are, so the machine that we're purchasing with the 5-year warranty will be $160,000
Just Rash.
just for Ashland County.
Okay.
And Bayfield County, they have more money than we are, so they're just gonna buy the machine and not use ARPA funding, so they're gonna buy the machine, which is 140 something with their Department of Justice grant, and they're not gonna buy the extended 5-year warranties because they got more money in the bank, they can afford to budget for it. I wanna try to get us pre-funded for that so that we don't have to worry about it in budget years 3, 4, and 5.
So the 10.5 will come out of ARPA.
That's correct.
Yep.
All the,
Go ahead.
well, go ahead, Mike. I was,
This 5-year warranty, does that also include any updates to that machine? Like, no?
Like software updates, firmware updates.
Well, I would imagine if there's any standard updates, it would. But if we want to expand the storage, if we want to expand those other things, we'd have to pay for it. Expanded storage basically is like $5,000. You could store like 10 million shots. Right now, we basically would have maybe a 10 or 15-year storage with the storage that's in it, and we can offload it to our server. But if we got the $5,000 additional storage, it would last. We'd all be dead and gone before we ran out of storage. So we're not going to do that because we can just if we run out of space in 10 years, we can just offload it.
Sure.
And some of these things we have to keep some of them because if somebody is smuggling something in, well, that's evidence. That scan is a piece of evidence that somebody be charged with a crime for trying to bring contraband into a controlled facility.
I'll make a motion that we allocate 10,000, whatever it is, the ARPA fund.
Motion by Bill to approve the $10,000 money,
I'll second it.
It's 10.5?
Yeah.
10.5.
seconded by Marty. All those in favor say aye.
I,
Aye.
Anyone opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you. ARPA fund purchases to date.
I think I'm going to have to go down and get the link for this because I don't think the link's on here. Is that link on there?
I just see this letter here.
Okay, all right. Why don't you move on to premium pay, and Dan, you can cover that discussion, and I'll find the link for that. I didn't want to post that link online because it's open for everybody to edit, and you could have the public just adding that, they want, Marty wants a new car. You do, I know, so, but we'd have to turn it down.
We'll put,
So let me go down and do that. You
put
start,
number 6 on hold until Clark comes back.
yeah.
We'll go to number 7.
yeah, go on to number 7, premium pay.
Okay.
And you can start that discussion.
Okay, I've got questions. No, I'm gonna talk about this.
Yeah.
Premium pay. Here's my concern. We need to know, technically, we have $3 million, $1.5 million we got. We hope to get the other $1.5 million. We need to know what we've spent so far. We've allocated $1 million or more to human services to bring that out of the budget. I'm gonna tell you real honest, I'm not going to even discuss premium pay until we know how much money we have left. We can't spend that $1.5 million that we don't even have yet next year because we don't have it. We should be really careful that we're staying within the $1.5 million we have right now. And if we've allocated $1 million or more already to health and human services, we need to see that. That's kind of like purchases to date too. What have we spent? What do we have? We can't talk about premium pay unless we know we have the money. I don't know how else you would justify doing that at this point. And I'm not opposed to that discussion. I'm just saying, if we have $1.5 million right now, what have we encumbered? How would you spend money that you don't have? And that's, I'm just trying to be cautious because I don't know where we've spent all our money so far.
Richard?
Yeah. Phil.
I can't see picking out, I have no problem with like the sheriff's department and certain other departments, but I can't see just picking those out and saying, these are the people that should be given this. I think that anybody that showed up for work at the courthouse or whatever, I think they should all be entitled to that premium pay. Anybody that showed up, it shouldn't just be, if somebody was here at the courthouse, they took a risk of somebody walking in, and I can't see. I think what we should do, I agree with what you said, we should find out how much money we do have left, but I think if we shouldn't just single out a certain group.
Right.
I think we should, because, there was nurses and, definitely they were in the front line. But if somebody was here at the courthouse working or at the highway department, I think they should be entitled to something also, if that's what we decide to do.
Just, and correct me if anybody knows, was it the money we were going to put into the human services budget to kind of, and Clark probably knows, was it $1 million or was it $1.5 million?
Million.
$1 million. So $1 million of the $1.5 million is kind of spoken for. So now we're down to $500,000. So that's why we need to know what Clark was going to get, is what have we spent or encumbered? Now we just spent $10,000, 500. Okay, so you take that away.
Plus we spent how much other money.
Right, and that's what we need to know, because I'm being cautious here. You can't spend money you don't have. And so depending on what we spent 70, 80,000 on technology in here. Okay, so now we're up to about 80, 90,000 that we know of on 2 items. So that's why I think 6 is really important, because you can't give premium pay of money you don't have.
Yeah, I guess, and this is my final hours here. I'll give you my 2 cents. This is a quagmire that you should not step into. I've not found another county that has actually done this, because it turns into a mess. So you have people, and you've read through the packet, you'll see all the different considerations you have. Part-time people, people who work 80% remote, people who work 10% remote. People are in a jail. Is that equivalent to working in my office? Is that equivalent to people working in courts? Is that equivalent to the public health people, to the child protection people? There is no fair way to do this. I mean, if you really were dedicated to do this, then you'll see that as a possible recommendation. Just give everybody $500 and don't pay attention to anything. Just give it to them. And you're gonna make 49% of the people happy, and you're gonna make 51% of the people upset. In addition, my own personal opinion is, and call it harsh, nobody lost their job. Nobody had their hours cut. These are not people who basically have taken a hit financially from ARPA, unlike people who did lose jobs, who basically had to be on unemployment, who maybe are getting evicted from their homes. The federal government distributed this money for people who suffered financially from COVID and to prepare organizations and government for a revamp of the COVID. My opinion, for what it's worth, is I would just bury it, but that's my opinion.
And this is why I want to be cautious with this. I don't want to table this because then it comes up again. I would rather, provided everyone would agree, to just say, we've discussed it and not take any action on it. Because if you table it, it's going to come back up some point. So if we don't take any action on item 7, it's done for now until it comes up in the future, if it does.
No,
Do you have, Clark, do you have the figure on how much we would have allocated already on that ARPA money?
So Dan, go to the executive folder for today, and you should see a Word document, ARPA funds,
ARPA link.
ARPA link. That's a Word document. And this is just for your own, from a technical standpoint, Dan, if you have something like this, instead of logging into your email live for everybody to see, just put it into a Word document and then load it onto that folder, and then you can see what happens. So, yeah, so click on that link and it should pop up.
How many got paid my bill?
Take your shirt off. It was.
So here is, and again, this is, Sue could actually print off what we've actually spent on this account. But the wish list so far has got 2.6 of the 3. Now, these are things which we haven't spent, like the $1 million of health and human services, high cost behavioral health treatment. We're reserving that money. The things in green are things which we have basically spent and purchased that go all the way across. The things in green that are partway across, we've given approval to, but they haven't been purchased or vouchered out. So you can see we're basically doing these small time purchases of 1,000 here, 2,000 here. We did approve, last time you did approve towards the bottom of the page, you'll see that there's a $10,000 tower movement, which was under the Treasury guidelines. We basically put up a new tower. I think there's a new tower that actually went up on the res, and we had to move our repeater. That's why they get a climber to move from the old tower to the new tower. And that basically helps with emergency response, in this case, which we covered under the COVID. The red items are things which we haven't landed on. So the Evergrow Learning Center, you basically, I frankly can't remember where we landed on that. I thought, did you want the county board to weigh in on that, or did you just?
I think we just left it again because we didn't know, we didn't have enough financial background for Evergrow or to even make a recommendation.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'll tell you this, see the pants, the money's in the bank for this. If you wanted to give them $151,000, you have not spent it. I think this is more.
How much have we actually spent?
Including this $10,000, we could add it up. My gut guess, I don't know. Sue, are you? Are you on the line, Sue?
Yep. Yes, I am. I gave Dan the printout this morning. Currently, without the 10.5 that you just designated, we have spent $40,521.
So, yeah, like I said, we haven't,
10.5.
no, we're still waiting for some of these things to come through the voucher process, but you have not spent hundreds of thousands of dollars.
We have 80,000 and how much was the IT stuff in here?
Those bills are coming in, that's gonna be $78,000.
Okay.
So.
130.
I guess I'd like to know how much is obligated at this point.
So the only thing that you have obligated from a vote that is not basically, you know, the 10,000 you did today, the 10,000 for the tower, which we paid, plus those $40,000, you've obligated yourself $1 million over a 3-year period for health and human services. And so that's not going out the door right away. And again, what we're doing is, you know, you are cash poor. And so what we're doing is, as we pay these high cost behavioral health treatments, which is spelled out in the Treasury Department as an allowable ARPA expense, we're going to replace that general fund money with ARPA money. And we might do that twice a year, might do that once a year. So my gut guess is you might take 250, at the end of this year, you might take 250 or $300,000 and just replace the money you spent since March 3rd of this year, which is the starting date for the ARPA funding. So what have you obligated? You know, maybe you've obligated, you know, 1 point, well, yeah, you've obligated that, but you promised yourself basically 1.3 over a 3-year period so far of the 3 million.
So right now we have about 300+ thousand left of that ARPA fund.
Well, we haven't spent anything on the health and human service of that $1 million.
Yeah.
Nothing.
You gotta take that million off the table because
Right.
if you're gonna use it,
Right.
that, and I'm only talking $1.5 million, because we don't have the other $1.5 million. And lo and behold, I'm always Mr. Cautious till we get the other $1.5 million.
I wouldn't disagree with you. The federal government could change their minds.
But of the $1.5 million, we've obligated $1,140,000 that we've either spent or obligated. So, you know, that's why we got to look and say, okay, what else is on this list coming up? Because we only have 300,000 or 400,000 technically unobligated.
Yeah, I think, you know, dealing with those two issues, the ARPA and the Evergrow, I think you should deal with them on the principle first. The ARPA funding, I think you should say on the principle, do you want to support it or not support it? And the Evergrow, the discussion you had last time was, is it fair to have one nonprofit come in and say, we want money, and you haven't offered yourself up to say, do we want to have a strategic plan, set aside $500,000 over a 3-year period of this to say, this will be given to organizations that have suffered due to COVID? Because, you know, is it fair just to say Evergrow is first in line, first in, they get the money? Is that fair? That was your discussion last time. That decision should come at the county board level to say, do we want to strategically set aside and develop a process for nonprofits to apply to us to do this? Again, on principle, I would recommend that you probably don't jump into that and start weighing all these different nonprofit requests. You're a poor county and you need to maintain your cash flow. I would try to maintain as much money as you can inside your organization so that you don't go broke. This is a gift. This is a gift for you to support you. And you're going to be, if you use it wisely, you'll be good for a couple, 3 years here on a cash flow basis.
This is Terry Barningham. Can I update you on something if that's okay?
Yes.
What'd you say?
I put it in the chat. I just wanted to let you know we looked at our numbers from March through July for behavioral health placements that we already have. paid for, and we are already at $359,000. And that's just March through July. So I had sent an email to Dan and Clark earlier, updating, but it was too late for them to read this before the meeting. But this is a way we can defederalize that money and have that funding, which we're mandated to pay for these placements, go back into the general fund. And I guess I would just like to point out, if we have spent that much and defederalize that, I would actually be requesting more funding in the 3-year period, so that, and again, this is money we have to spend anyway, but we can defederalize it and put it back in the general fund to increase the balance of the general fund.
You know, we haven't really acted on 7 yet.
If I can make a suggestion, Dick, and obviously everybody has a right, but on 7, I'd like to just not act on it. Don't want to table it because it comes back up. And it's not that it can't come back up, but I'd like to see on 7 that we stop the discussion.
Making a motion.
I want to be careful how we do this. I'd make a motion that we not enter into further discussion on item 7 at this time.
Do we have a second?
I think I'll second that, yes, yes.
Motion by Gary, seconded by Marty, not to enter into discussion on the ARPA fund premium pay at this time. All those in favor, say aye.
No, discussion. Discussion on the motion.
Okay,
I think that we should move to recommend to the county board $500 per staff members who are on board as of June 1st, 2021. As the bottom one, I'd like to see this taken care of instead of constantly tabling stuff. I think that's fair. I think the people, if we do it so that everybody that worked for the county qualifies for this, as what it states in that last thing, I think that's fair. And you know, the people were put out at risk, and I think they should be compensated something. So I have to oppose this.
maybe we'll come up with a figure on that.
Well, it says right here at the bottom one on the last page, it says move to recommend to the county board $500 per staff members who are on board as of June 1st, 2021, and still employed with the county September 16th, 2021, except staff members who worked 100% remote from during that period. Staff that are not eligible for WRS benefits would receive $250 in premium pay. Now, I would imagine that would be part-time workers.
Yes.
Okay, so the only thing is the people that, you know, the sheriff's department, the nurses, people in social services that were actually there, people at the courthouse, they actually came to work. And I think they should be compensated because you can't stop the public from coming in. And I feel that that would be fair. And we have the money. I think we should go ahead, and I don't know the exact amount that we're going to be if we pass this.
So if you basically took Bill's motion.
I didn't.
Yeah, but basically,
No, you're talking about roughly at far end, you got 200 staff times $500, it's $100,000. Okay, that's what you're basically, and then it would be a little bit less than that because the part-time people that are not eligible would get $250. In addition, you probably, maybe you have to look at the 19 people in the sheriff's department because their union contract that you guys negotiated gives them $1,200 on January 1st from the ARPA funds also. So I didn't think about that till right now, but they're already allocated to do that as part of the union contract negotiated process. They're a separate deal, those 19 people, but that's where you know, so you're at $90,000 to $100,000, let's say.
Okay, but we have a motion and a second on the floor in the discussion.
This
So we
is-
need to act on that motion. Because if that motion is passed, then that's it.
Yeah, but we should have discussion after the motion.
And that's what you're
What
discussing.
was your motion?
My motion is to not go into further discussion on this fund premium pay at this time.
Well, there's a suggested motion here to move forward into the county board without recommendation.
Correct.
We're putting together a few motions for you to consider.
Right.
Staff is not weighing in there. I've given you my personal opinion, but this is your decision, not staff's decision.
Nick, I'd like to make a note that we don't know where we are with health insurance yet either. And I don't want to get too far into this and find out we need some money that we don't have.
Yeah,
I've been a part of incentive pays and what Clark says is absolutely spot on. Is there's no way to do it fairly. If you do it, you're gonna have resentment. And I don't know where that resentment's all gonna come from, but it will definitely be there. And it throws a whole new dynamic into what you're trying to deal with. But I also agree with what Mr. Metzinger says, is that I think they do deserve something and everybody else is doing it. And we all grew up with our parents telling us just because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right. But it does in this situation. And I think if we're gonna do it, I think it should be done as a simple bonus across the table. Everybody gets the same amount and you decide what that amount's gonna be. It's more predictable and, that seems to be the smart way to go on something like this. And I don't think just ignoring it, I wish it would just go away on some of those, but I don't think it's going to. And I don't think it's inappropriate for you to take an action to give our employees some sort of recognition for what they did. Thank you.
are you going to hang tough with your motion?
I'm hanging tough with my motion.
All right, the motion is to take no action,
Right.
and Marty seconded it.
Roll call vote, please.
Need a roll call on this, Lori.
Dick Poofall,
No,
Mike Berlin,
No,
Gary Mertig,
Yes.
Bill Metzinger,
No.
Marty Vitek.
Yes,
all right, motion fails. Bill,
I would like to make a motion to recommend to the county board a $500 per staff member who are on board as of June 1st, 2021, and still employed with the county September 16th, 2021, except staff members who worked 100% remote during this period. And staff that are not eligible for the WRS benefits would receive $250 in premium pay. I would like to make that motion.
support that.
motion has been made by Bill. Seconded by Mike.
Discussion.
Yeah, discussion.
Here's the problem with that. Now you're starting to say to an employee, you work from home, you get something, you didn't work from home. You're also sending a message to the county taxpayers that we have $100,000 that we can put into premium pay. Not, some people had to come to work. But you can't you can't differentiate between somebody who could, or whether they elected to or not, work from home and somebody who didn't. I don't see that as an argument. There are certain people who, for a lot of reasons, have to work from home. I don't have an objection to that, but I think you need to make it very clear that you're going to stand up in front of the taxpayers and say you just spent $100,000 of county potential money that we may need somewhere else. Marty's right that the health insurance fund is not sustainable. And at some point you're going to say, boy, I wish we had some money. So
All right. Yes, somebody from the others.
I agree with.
Could you introduce yourself and maybe step closer to the table a little bit?
Hi, I'm Melanie Connors. I'm the economic support supervisor for Ashley County Health and Human Services. My unit determines food share and Medicaid for the state of Wisconsin. And so our, we basically fit the essential worker meeting. So if we didn't have our workers, our people in here in our county could not have their Medicaid, couldn't have their food share. The food share program has brought millions of dollars into our county. And so I don't care for the 100% remote work statement in the motion, because my staff still had to come to work. They still had to do the 8 to 4. They may have been remote, but they still did their job completely 100%. They are scheduled breaks, they're scheduled lunches. For economic support, we have to actually submit our vacation schedules in November of this year for next year already in order to have off. So when we discuss remote work, if you're gonna do a premium pay, I think it needs to be across the board, because whether you were here in the office or whether you were remote, you showed up, you did your job, you did it to the best you could.
So I will say this about that. Treasury guidance does not allow premium pay for remote workers. That's a federal guideline, and you can't change that. So there's, if you're gonna follow, do what you wish, but you could be called to the rug and have to pay that money back if somebody in 2026 or 25 looks at you and says you gave premium pay to people who work 100% remotely. It's not allowed. The question that you come up with, what about 80%? Is that, is like, what about 70%? What about 10%? I mean, that's where it just falls apart for me. No offense. I just,
No,
This, if we okay this today, it still has to come before the county board for discussion, correct?
that's correct. Your current policy is small nominal purchases of $5,000 or less are made by your county administrator. 5,000 to 50,000 are made by you. $50,000 and above are made by the county board. In this case, it would be over $50,000. County board would have to approve it and discuss this on the 16th. Next week, we'd have to add it to the agenda.
let me put it to you guys like this, would you consider a smaller amount?
For the remote workers?
Yeah, well, for everybody.
For everyone.
Oh, Clark, you said you can't pay to remote workers.
So Treasury guidance stipulates that you can't pay premium pay to people who work, 100% remote. It doesn't go anywhere else with it. It doesn't have any guidance to say 80%, 50%. It doesn't give you a time frame. I'm just picking, you need to stand somewhere. And so I basically have said, and this is the motion that Bill read, which is June 1st to September 16th. That's your time frame. If you work remotely 100%, you're not eligible. If you came into meetings, if you came into the office, if you did stuff, then you would be eligible. If you never showed up, you wouldn't be. I don't know how else to give you a motion.
How many fit into that category of 100% remote?
I don't know. I know I've got six staff that are completely 100%. I have one that comes in for a few things a week.
You're talking a handful of people, maybe out of 200 that wouldn't qualify. And then you're gonna have, the issue that you're gonna have to face is you're gonna say, well, we have some people in health and services, maybe they work 70% remote. Is that the same as going to the jail?
So it's just the 100% remote that is excluded under federal.
That's my interpretation.
Yeah, I guess what I would ask you to consider is to do as Mr. Metzger has requested here, is just have a flat fee for everybody. The handful, I think we should look and see how many people actually are in the 100% remote category that would be excluded from that. And if we're only talking 6 people, take that out of the county budget and not use ARPA money to pay those individuals, but still pay them out of the contingency fund if we need to. But that would take care of that issue.
So if you basically, as Terry Barningham said earlier, we've already burned through $350,000 of behavioral health costs of that million. If we want to, let's say, wash it or defederalize it, I guess is a more polite word to use it. You could defederalize that, put it in the general fund, and then regurgitate it back out to the people who wouldn't qualify under the treasury guidelines. I mean, I know it's this little peanut in the shell game going, moving around, but it is, that is an idea, Matt. You could do that.
Any more discussion? All right, we have a motion on the table.
Roll call vote, please.
Pardon me,
Roll call vote, please.
you wanna read your motion back?
Move to recommend to the county board $500 per staff members who are on board as of June 1st, 2021, and still employed with the county September 16th, 2021, except staff workers who worked 100% remote during that period. Staff that are not eligible for WRS benefits would receive $250 in premium pay.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Second to that? Okay, roll call vote.
Dick Poofall,
Yeah,
was that a yes?
yes.
Okay. Mike Berlin,
Yes.
Gary Mertig,
No.
Bill Metzinger,
Yes.
Marty Vitek.
No,
Good, Bill.
I do believe that what this young lady said is true, that they had showed up for work and had worked. And I think if it passes the county board, then I think what we should do is bring it up again and see where, if we can pay that to the employees out of our regular budget,
Of the defederalized money.
out of the defederalized money. I think that's, I think that would be a fair thing to do. But let's see if it passes by the county board first.
I voted against this because I'm worried that at some point we're gonna work ourselves into a corner and we're not gonna have the money we need to do stuff we need to do, so that's my concern.
So you voted no.
I voted no,
You-
and there's certainly,
Passes 3-2.
it's certainly true that the people are deserving of some consideration here. It's just not, I think it's premature.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, we will add that. Dan will add that to the county board meeting. And put pretty much just the same packet together. And you guys can discuss it next week.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the closed session. Before we go into closed session, I have something.
Actually, were there any more questions from the item 6? The purchases to date? Is there any direction you want to give the county administrator? I mean, I have a possible suggestion for you, which is maybe, Dan and Sue would, this is kind of your wish list, staff development list. My suggestion would maybe you direct your county administrator to develop a paid out the door list. Also.
Well, I think if next county board meeting, when we're discussing this premium pay, we're gonna have that. Because I agree with Marty wholeheartedly. We're spending money and not considering the fact that we're gonna hit a wall.
The other thing I think that we should consider, given Terry Barningham's recent point of that you've gone through $350,000 already on behavioral health, US Treasury guidance allowed expenses of the $1 million. I would, no offense, but I would recommend moving that money from the ARPA funds into the general fund in order to make sure that you at least have done it. mean, let's say you get to the end of the road here, and you over obligate yourself. Wash as much money as you can, defederalize as much money as you can in order to put it in there. So that would be my recommendation. I don't have any idea. I mean, the motion that the county board passed was move $1 million in there. I kind of thought maybe it might take us a couple, 3 years to do that, but at this rate, it may only take you 2 years. But I mean, unless you have a different opinion, I'd say move $350,000 right away because you've already spent it.
When are we supposed to get the other 1.5 million?
Next May.
May,
May of next year?
yes.
What happens if we don't spend this 1.5 million?
You have to spend it by the end of 24. You have to get it back.
Okay,
December 31st, 2024, you have to spend it or obligate it to be spent by December 31st, 2026.
the first 1.5 million.
Well, all $3 million,
Okay,
all $3 million. And you're not gonna have that problem. But there are some counties who basically, they're worried about what the obligation looks like. And the obligation is, you have a signed contract. So let's say you got, $50 million, and you're gonna build a building. Well, you have to have a signed purchase agreement with the building that you're gonna pay it out and finish it by the 26th. You don't have to worry about it. You're gonna spend the money. So if there's no further updates on that, yeah, that would be. I just want to make sure before I leave, if you had any other questions on that spreadsheet or you want to give direction to your county administrator.
Okay, are we done? Before we go into closed session, I have a presentation to make. It's kind of lengthy, we'll read it. Okay, this comes from Janet Bewley and Beth Myers, Madison. Whereas Clark Schroeder joined Ashland County as administrator in August of 2019. And whereas after only a few short months in that position, a global pandemic was declared due to the circumstances, due to the novel coronavirus, which forced local governments to rapidly adapt to constantly changing circumstances as schools shut down. Businesses began working remotely and personal protective equipment like masks, gloves, and other necessary equipment were in scarce supply, which allowed Clark to demonstrate his range of abilities, knowledge, and expertise in rapid response management. And whereas during this tumultuous time, Clark initiated a collaborators meeting which gathered officials from Iron, Ashland, and Bayfield counties, the Bad River, Lake Superior, Chippewa, the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior, Chippewa, and the city of Ashland to share information and resources and to jointly plan responses to meet the needs of those communities. Whereas simultaneously, Clark instituted a regional administrators meeting, which continues to this day as county administrators meet virtually each week to review issues, hear concerns, and develop situation solutions. Whereas these actions on behalf of the people of northern Wisconsin contributed to a lower infection and death rate, saving the lives of his neighbors and community members, demonstrating his range of abilities, knowledge, and compassion and adaptability. Now, therefore, on the behalf of the Wisconsin legislature and the grateful communities of Ashland County and all of northern Wisconsin, Senator Janet Bewley and Representative Beth Myers do hereby congratulate and thank County Administrator Clark Schroeder for his outstanding service and wish him all the best for a long, happy, and healthy retirement.
Oh, it's very nice.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Downstairs, very nice.
Did
Something to hang on down in the bar downstairs.
In the bar in Robin.
Do you need some pointers as far as how to be retired? We got 5 guys here.
Well qualified, well qualified. I think I will succeed this time.
This one's.
Dick, I'd just make a recommendation, maybe to get a picture of you and Clark with the plaque and a handshake. And Laura will take a picture and then we've got one to submit to whoever.
Yeah, that'd be great. Where do you want to set up for us?
In front of the flag.
Good idea.
He's got.
We're still,
He's got one.
yeah.
No,
Yeah, a second.
right moment.
Yeah.
With my age, you don't do anything in a hurry.
And then we do that.
Must smile like you like him. There you go.
Thank you. I actually did get a resolution. I was at the I got invited to the Bayfield County Board last week on the 31st. And they passed a resolution of similar genre to thank me for the service I've done for the Bay Area. So I'll take that one. They didn't put it on a plaque.
Okay, motion to go into closed session.
So move.
I will second it.
I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Motion made by Marty, seconded by Bill.
Thank you.
What? All in favor, say aye.
Right.
Anyone opposed, say no.
Okay, can you give me 1 minute to get people in the waiting room?
Okay, so how do we try to get people?
So you're gonna stop the recording, right?